Ben Goertzel here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's been happening with SingularityNet for the last month, and what we have to look forward to during the next few months, which is really exciting. So February 2021, I mean, this has been a legendary month for SingularityNet in a whole bunch of ways. I mean, the vote that we had in early February approving the phase 2 initiative, I think this is sort of the biggest threshold event in the history of SingularityNet since the original token generation event in late 2017. I mean, between the collaboration with Cardano, the agreement to release 1 billion new AGI tokens on Cardano platform, month by month, starting pretty soon, and the reorganization of governance to move further toward progressive decentralization. I mean, we're really setting things up to enable tremendous growth in the next months and the next few years. I mean, growth in the intelligence of the AI in the network, growth in the utilization of the network, and growth in the economic value of the network, and the economic return and the humanitarian return to be received by everybody participating in the network. So I think incredibly excited about the support we had from the community in voting for the phase 2 initiative by such a large margin, and most of all about what this is going to enable going forward. So you're going to hear a lot more about that in the next few weeks and months. I've been working a lot with the Cardano team on technical aspects in terms of working toward getting the AGI token actually running on the Cardano network, getting the marketplace there, and then some deeper aspects like the AI DSL, AI domain specific language that, once we have the marketplace and the protocol fully ported to Cardano, this will allow the AI agents running on the Cardano platform to communicate with each other in a richer and deeper way. So the agents can understand what each other are doing and why, what properties they have, so that AI agents on the platform can coordinate and cooperate together in a richer and more emergently intelligent way than is possible now on the Ethereum platform. I've also been working a lot with the Cardano Catalyst team and a bunch of our internal SingularityNet team members and the SingularityNet Supervisory Council on the deep funding pool, the decentralized ecosystem projects pool, which is another key part of phase 2. And I mean, I think we're gearing up to make this one of the most exciting tech project funding, incubator, accelerator, plus programs on the face of the planet. I mean, we're looking at using this to put funds into community projects, enhancing the SingularityNet infrastructure, to projects building dApps and various applications on top of SingularityNet so as to get more and more utilization of the platform, more and more API calls, and then researchers developing amazing new AI tools, core AI agents to run on SingularityNet that can then be accessed by products serving customers running on the platform. So yeah, between infrastructure, dApps utilizing the platform, and core AI tools, I mean, all of these things fertilized by the deep funding, I think, this can go a long way toward bringing the SingularityNet network the massive token utilization that it needs to really grow both commercially and grow toward emergent general intelligence. And I can't go into detail here on all the things we're working on to make phase 2 a reality, but there's a lot. It all connects together, and it's just an incredibly exciting time. So I'll answer a few questions from the community now to sort of flesh out a few of the details in the way that's directed by what people in the community are interested in. Let's see. Question, where can I see a roadmap for AGI on Cardano? Well, the phase 2 white paper, the phase 2 proposal at the end, gave a roadmap for the next several years, but the items on there for 2021 are the outline of a roadmap for SingularityNet project in the near future. But we are working on a more in-depth roadmap, sort of in that direction. There's going to be no big surprises there, but there'll be a bit more detail about sequencing and timing. So yeah, you can expect that pretty soon. But if you want the high level, it is there at the end of the phase 2 white paper. A question: how will SingularityNet scale? Let's say 1 million people are sending requests to one AI agent. How it will be able to deliver to all of them? Well, scaling is a buzzword that boils down to a lot of different things when you look under the hood. So I think the Cardano integration will be a significant part of it. Cardano just fundamentally has a more scalable architecture than Ethereum, lower cost and higher speed. I mean, we already have algorithms allowing SingularityNet to scale in terms of peer-to-peer search for AI agents meeting certain properties and so forth. It's just the practical atomic operations in these algorithms on Ethereum are very slow, and that will be solved with a move to Cardano. Now, there's a lot of other aspects to scaling that happen sort of once a customer has reached a certain AI agent. I mean, that AI agent may need to make multiple copies of itself to serve multiple customers, may need to make multiple copies of the data that it's accessing if a lot of its customers are hitting up all that data at the same time. And I mean, this is part of what we're referring to as infrastructure as a service, which is also written about in the phase 2 white paper. I mean, this frankly is multiple years of work to get scalability in SingularityNet as a decentralized infrastructure up to the level of what you have in like AWS or Azure or something. I mean, we'll be getting there bit by bit, but I mean, these are trillion-dollar companies that have put a tremendous amount of work into scaling, and we're doing it step by step. And then another interesting aspect here is the NewNet project, which is a spinoff of SingularityNet, which we expect to pick up more and more momentum as 2021 continues, including very likely launching its own token, perhaps as a Cardano native asset. But NewNet allows processing power on mobile devices, Internet of Things devices, just CPUs in laptops and desktops. It allows all these compute resources to be pulled in to the benefit of AI agents running on decentralized networks. Initially SingularityNet, also other networks that may connect to SingularityNet. So I mean, I think that NewNet in a way lets us go even beyond the infrastructure as a service that big tech companies offer. And Cardano can be in a way the glue that lets us pull these infrastructure as a service tools, both traditional ones and NewNet, pull them together to provide additional types of scalability on the back end of SingularityNet AI agents. So yeah, we'll see a big boost in scalability with the port to Cardano, but scalability has a lot of dimensions, and it's going to be increasing step by step. Question: Neuralink and SingularityNet, is this a match made in heaven? Well, I mean, AI and brain-computer interfacing are a match made in heaven, right? I mean, if we can plug the AI into our brain, I mean, then as humans, our own thought process is going to be enhanced by what the AI can do. I would love to be able to access, search engines, calculators, and AI systems of all sorts at the speed of thought, right? But additionally, the AI is going to be able to learn from human thinking and the human mind, and really putting brain-computer interfacing and AI together is pretty much, that's going to be the best way for AIs to really learn what it is to be human on a profound level. I mean, we can go a long way with robots like Sophia, which we're pursuing heavily through the Sophia Collective, Sophia DAO collaboration with Hanson Robotics, and through the Grace humanoid robot for elder care that we're developing in another joint venture with Hanson Robotics called Awakening Health. So these, these humanoid robots can look you in the face, and they can empathize with you, and that's one way to get human values, culture, and understanding into the robot. But of course, brain computer interfacing. I mean, this adds a whole other dimension. I mean, Neuralink is a very cool company. I mean, it is one among many brain computer interfacing initiatives on the planet now, and partnering with them or any other of the many serious brain computer interfacing initiatives out there certainly makes a heck of a lot of sense. I would say I have a bias towards sort of open source hardware and open source software. I mean, especially where you're plugging stuff into your brain. You'd really like to be able to audit the code and be certain that, like, you're not going to get adware in your neocortex or something. So I would have a bias toward partnering with brain computer interfacing projects that are as open and transparent and decentralized as possible. And this should be a really interesting area to explore going forward. Question: don't we really need a consciousness facilitative AI? If we raise human consciousness, I'm sure this would have a profound impact in raising the levels of a consciously aware artificial general intelligence and would result in a benevolent AI singularity. Well, I mean, obviously, I selected that question because, yes, indeed, I do think we need a human consciousness facilitating AGI. I mean, I think the idea that we're just going to create a superhuman AGI mind, in a box somewhere, in an isolated computer network somewhere, that's going to be not only super intelligent but so benevolent and so understanding that will solve all humanity's problems. I mean, it's not totally impossible, but it's probably not the way things are going to go. I mean, there's a big risk that isolated AI system is not going to understand what humans really want or need, and it's going to go in some other radically different direction. And I mean, I think by far the best way to get to an AGI that's really able to help humanity resolve all its issues and move on to a profoundly better state of existence. I mean, the best way to do that is for humans to be uplifting their own consciousness, understanding themselves better, loving each other better, helping each other better, working toward a better and better society and a better way of being human. And for the AGI to grow up as part of this consciousness expansion on the part of humanity. And I mean, if we can do that, this is really how you get to a beneficial AGI. Now, of course, I'm not completely oblivious to what's going on in the world now for real. I mean, I lived in Hong Kong for 9 years. I saw all the political struggles there, a lot of stuff very, very disturbing. I mean, I've relocated back to the US as my main base of operations as of last year, although once COVID travel restrictions are gone, I'm gonna be roaming far and wide again for sure. And I mean, US, we had Donald Trump. We have a disturbing percentage of U.S. population believing QAnon, right? I mean, we've got a lot of screwy things going on in humanity and human systems all over the planet. But I think if among all this mess, we can get serious human consciousness expansion to happen so that, there's a process and dynamic of a larger and larger percentage of the human population awakening themselves, loving better, understanding themselves and others better, opening their minds to, the amazing possibilities that the future holds. If this becomes more and more of a thing, more and more of an aspect of humanity, we still have a chance to raise up our AGIs, to raise them up so that their own growth and expansion of their consciousness is like synced up with the positive expansion of human consciousness. And for this to be, the dominant dynamic in the emerging AGI mind. And of course, with practical work on SingularityNET, we're often focusing on much more nitty-gritty stuff, like how do you get more AI developers to put stuff on our platform? How do you get more API calls into the platform? How do we increase, you know, the economic magnitude of the network? And we're building infrastructure. We're dealing with a lot of nitty-gritty stuff. But I mean, in the end, what we're after with SingularityNet is the same as it was in 2017 when we launched the project, right? It's democratic, decentralized, benevolent, artificial general intelligence. I mean, so it's assembling practical AI systems that solve real problems for real people in the real world now, but in a decentralized way and on a platform where the multiple AIs in the platform can easily cooperate and combine with each other to move to higher and higher levels of emergent general intelligence. And I mean, I think if you can get to AGI that way, coming out of the cooperative activity of a diverse pool of agents created by a diverse pool of people to serve the needs of a diverse pool of customers, I think, and if, you know, a reasonable portion of these agents and the people using these agents are themselves moving in a direction of, you know, expanded and more benevolent consciousness. I mean, I think we have at least a decent chance of creating a really benevolent AGI that's raising its own consciousness up as it becomes more and more intelligent and can then help human beings in really profound ways. Question. All right, coming back to the practical here. Once NewNet launches and increases in number of validator nodes, could AGI switch over from operating on Ethereum and Cardano to operating on NewNet? Well, NewNet isn't a blockchain, right? I mean, so NewNet is really a general purpose decentralized computing fabric, which could leverage multiple blockchains, multiple kinds of hardware devices, and can serve multiple decentralized computing networks. So I mean, you could run SingularityNet nodes on NewNet. You could run Ocean Protocol nodes on NewNet. I mean, so NewNet is a pretty general sort of decentralized computing fabric. Not everything needs to be a blockchain. I know we hear all the time in SingularityNet community, why doesn't SingularityNet make its own blockchain? I mean, I think sort of because of the history of the blockchain space, there's the idea that every good project should form its own blockchain. But I mean, it doesn't have to be that way any more than like Google had to make its own OS kernel. I mean, Linux kernel is good. You can use a Linux kernel. You can build a lot of amazing stuff on the Linux kernel without needing to make your own kernel. And Cardano is good in the same way that Linux kernel is good. You can build a lot of stuff on top of Cardano without needing to build your own Cardano. And the blockchain is a super important part of the stack if you want to be making decentralized computing or decentralized AI networks. But you know, there's a lot of other parts to the stack. So I mean, SingularityNet is living just above Cardano in the stack. Then, you know, networks like Rejuve and NewNet and so forth, we can think of as layer 2 networks that are living above SingularityNet. You can think of things like OpenCog, Hyperon, or Singularity Studio with its enterprise software products, as even like layer 3. They can leverage all the different layer 2 networks on top of SingularityNet. Something like TODA IP protocol, you can even view as living below Cardano, below the blockchain in the stack. That's like TCP/IP on decentralized encryption or something, like an even lower level protocol that Cardano could make use of. So there's a lot of layers in the stack, and it's good that Cardano is an amazing blockchain. SingularityNet is already a pretty solid decentralized AI network, and NewNet's position is really on top of that as a layer 2 network for SingularityNet and other decentralized networks. And that's great. I mean, you know, the centralized tech companies, the Googles, Microsoft, Tencent of the world and so on, they've got very rich multi-layered tech stack already, and we're really building out all those layers at the same time, as fast and as well as we can in the decentralized ecosystem. And it's you know, the big tech companies are very worthy competitors. On the other hand, I would say we also have some real advantages in the decentralized ecosystem, and that ties into another question. So what do you think of this situation with the Timnit Gebru and Google's AI ethics brouhaha. Well, so yeah, I mean, I felt that somewhat personally, just because Timnit is Ethiopian, and SingularityNet has had an office in Ethiopia since the beginning. I've been doing AI and robotics work in Ethiopia since 2014, and there's amazing. It's a big country. There's almost 100 million people there. There's amazing talent there, and it's great to see Ethiopians and Ethiopian women in particular going out and pervading every aspect of the modern tech community. And then it's not at all surprising to me that some of the more dazzling female AI minds from the developing world may run into sort of cultural issues and problems with the attitudes of people in big tech companies. I mean, in the end, Google started out pretty cool. I mean, I visited Google Office first in the year 2000. It was great. It was like a bunch of grade A geeks just solving hard computer science problems and rolling them out to the world. Amazing stuff, right? But Google has now just become, in many ways, like any other big company, right? So when you look at the processes that they want people to go through to get papers published within Google, which was wrapped up with the issues that Google had with its AI ethics group. I mean, if you're working at Microsoft or working at IBM or UBS, there's all sorts of processes to go through to publish papers. That's how the corporate world works. They want to maximize shareholder value, and they want to control what their staff are doing. And if you're a researcher there, you're not a academic professor. I mean, you're serving the man. You're serving the company's needs. And I think this mess with Google's AI ethics group has just reinforced to the world that these big tech companies, they're not that different. They're not that special. I mean, Google removed "Don't be evil" as its corporate motto a long time ago, right? I mean, these are big companies. They're out to maximize shareholder value, and they're not necessarily less ethical than other big companies out there. They're not necessarily more ethical than other big companies out there either. I mean, I do think, to me, the biggest eye opener with this whole Timnit Gebru thing was just how incompetent Google was at managing all this. I mean, I'd sort of, as a diehard cynic about big companies, I'd sort of thought, well, Google was going to hire these AI ethics people to publish papers that said nice, intelligent, sensible things about AI ethics, and that was a sort of disinformation campaign. While they're going to keep on doing the same old unethical things to make money and maximize shareholder value, right? And so it seems like not everyone inside Google was maximally aligned to play that game, right? And so that's a little strange and confusing. But I mean, I'm sure they will write the course and play their PR disinformation campaigns better in the future. On the other hand, I do think there's some long-term damage done, and I think not just Google, but all the big tech companies, like they're no longer perceived as the cool place to work for young AI developers or young computer hackers. I mean, by now, going to work at Google or Facebook is a bit more like going to work in a Wall Street bank or something. Like, you do it because it pays a lot of money and it's good for your resume, but you don't do it because you think you're like saving the world or because it's the most exciting or interesting thing to do. And I think that's very positive for decentralized projects like SingularityNet, right? Because if very talented, ambitious young developers in AI, blockchain, and other fields, I mean, if they don't want to jump into these big tech companies because the big tech companies are no longer the cool thing, I mean, it's more likely they're going to throw in with crazy decentralized projects like SingularityNet or Cardano. So I think as as the big tech companies' cool value fades, you know, that we may be able to pull more and more, you know, high talented people into the decentralized ecosystem. Which brings us to the next question. Now, what will you do to attract more developers in the SingularityNet ecosystem? Well, yeah, I think, you know, the port to Cardano at least will get rid of a couple reasons not to put your code in SingularityNet platform, like high cost of gas and slow speed of Ethereum transactions. So that certainly helps, but that just removes some bad things. It doesn't add good things, right? I mean, bottom line is, as a protocol, a platform or a meta platform, I mean, SingularityNet needs, you know, it needs a demand side and a supply side. The more demand there is for AI services on the platform, the more motivation there is for people to put their AI into the network, providing supply, and vice versa. The more AI has been put on there, the more supplies there, then the more people will want to use the network, the more demand there will be. So, you know, there's a two-sided network effect that needs to be seeded, which, to be honest, we haven't made that much traction on so far. We've built and launched some amazing software, but we haven't really gone far enough to get utilization of that software. And I think, you know, we've got a number of strategies for that going forward. I think it's the time for this to happen. So the deep funding pool that I mentioned, which is part of the phase 2 initiative, this can be a really big part of it. But we don't, you know, we don't just want to be paying people to put stuff on the platform, and that's not sustainable. So what we need to do is use deep funding to seed projects, just to give them a little head start to get them started. Well, they will then keep on using the platform ongoingly, you know, because it's good for them, because it's providing with technical support they wouldn't have had otherwise, or because they're making money there as an augmentation to what they can get on other channels. But at least the deep funding pool, which will be funded by a steady stream of AGI on Cardano tokens, I mean, at least the deep funding pool provides some economic firepower that, if used judiciously, can stimulate putting both core AI algorithms, infrastructure improvements, and dApps leveraging the network. So all these things onto the SingularityNet platform. I think some of the layer 2 networks that we've been building within SingularityNet Foundation are going to be spinning out, like a Reju for life extension biology, and the NewNet I've already mentioned for decentralized processing, Accelerando for decentralized media. I mean, I think all these things, through the logic of their own networks, are going to create demand, because they need AI services from SingularityNet network. And by juicing the supply side with these layer 2 networks going to launch on top of SingularityNet, that can juice demand a fair bit, really. I mean, I think we also need to do the hard work of building out more infrastructure as a service tools underlying SingularityNet platform in order to really offer to developers as much as the centralized platforms offer. And that, you know, that will happen step by step, meaning that you know, some developers will be able to leverage SingularityNet as well as they could leverage centralized platforms this year in 2021. I mean, some could right now. And for some, will need, you know, service fleet management, or, you know, automated replication and fallback. We'll need more of these infrastructure as a service functions to be there for some product developers to really jump full on into SingularityNet. So it is going to be a gradual process. I mean, I think deriving from our integration with Cardano, you know, tools for multi-product computing and homomorphic encryption integrated with machine learning and reasoning algorithms, this can help also, because if developers want to do things in a, you know, distributed and secure way, there's not a lot of platforms that support that, and the integration with Cardano can let us get there faster. So there's a bunch of different things. There's no like one magic solution, but I think all in all, between deep funding, the layer 2 networks, and the move to Cardano and building more infrastructure as a service, I think we've we've got a lot of things that are going to pull more and more developers into the platform, and then what you need to reach a critical mass, and then there's enough there that it just grows of its own momentum. One more question. So does Singularity DAO benefit the SingularityNet landscape? So yeah, Singularity DAO is a spin-off, a layer 2 network of SingularityNet that uses SingularityNet AI for decentralized finance. And I mean, it uses it specifically to build a sort of trading and then yield farming infrastructure on top of lower liquidity altcoins. So I mean, you can bundle together a basket of altcoins into a single token called a dynaset, which is a bit like an ETF, but the components are dynamically reweighted by AI running on SingularityNet, and then you can also stake these dynasets, these ETF like tokens. You can stake these dynasets and then earn yield tokens for that, and there's hedging and futures based aspects there. And yeah, I think first of all, it benefits the SingularityNet network by using AI running on SingularityNet, right? So that's token utilization, right? I mean, there also will be an airdrop of Singularity DAO governance tokens to AGI token holders, and the particulars of that are still being worked out. Additionally, when we launch new spin-offs of SingularityNet, like say a NewNet or Rejuve, I mean, we can leverage Singularity DAO to help create liquidity and help create healthy markets for those tokens, along with the other tokens bundled in the Singularity DAO dynasets, right? So I mean, I think there's a lot of ways that Singularity DAO is going to drive SingularityNet forward. Okay, one more question on my list. When will the Sophia DAO launch? Well, so I've been working closely with David Hansen, Michelle Singh, and others on what we've now been calling the Sophia Collective, which is sort of a collaboration of SingularityNet and Hansen Robotics and a few other partners, which is aimed at putting decentralized open source AI behind Sophia and other similar robots and avatars with a view to working toward a beneficial singularity, right? So we were talking earlier, I was talking earlier about AI that facilitates expansion of human consciousness, and that was really David Hansen's goal with launching the Sophia robot in the first place. So now Hansen Robotics is putting a bunch of their IP, so open source and to be managed by Singularity DAO, and SingularityNet and Singularity Studio are commercial spin-off for enterprise software. We're going to take a bunch of the software that we're putting behind the Grace humanoid robot, which we're launching with Awakening Health to help elderly people in elder care facilities. We're going to take a bunch of that software and also open it up and put it out to the public through the Sophia DAO, Sophia Collective initiative. So the goal there is to really build an open source community around, creating benevolent, generally intelligent humanoid robots with a great amount of human empathy and with their minds running in the back end on SingularityNet decentralized network. And this there's a bunch of other aspects to this that you're going to hear about in the coming weeks. So when we're focusing heavily there on visual arts and music and video, and sort of on the aesthetic aspect of AI and the ability of that to reach out to more people and pull in a broader community. Because I mean, the idea with the Sophia DAO, Sophia Collective, I mean, it's still at a formative stage in some ways, but the idea is to pull in a whole bunch of people who may not be programmers or technical minded, and pull them into helping collaboratively sort of shape the consciousness of Sophia and her sister and brother robots, with a view toward sort of shaping the overall benevolent emergence of the global brain of humans, computers, AIs, robots, and so forth. But yeah, I'm getting very airy-fairy here, but I mean it's a very, very cool, exciting project. there's going to be some really interesting announcements about that before too long. And I mean, those who have been following SingularityNet for a while, you remember the Sophia robot was like with me all the time when I was out there talking about SingularityNet in 2017. We were doing a bit less with Sophia for the last few years, but behind the scenes, we were working on AI software for natural language dialogue and humanoid robot control, right? So I mean, now that work in the background on that software, I mean, now this is coming to fruition, both in the Grace Humanoid Robotics Project, which is applying the SingularityNet-based, AI robot control software to elder care, and in the Sophia DAO, Sophia Collective project, which is applying it more generally with the sort of arts and the aesthetics and ethics spin. But I think that's enough for now. So yeah, as I said, this has been a really exciting month. I mean, getting the go-ahead from the community to proceed with the phase 2 initiative is just incredible. And we've got so many exciting things in the work now. This is going to be the most amazing year in the history of SingularityNet, and I think I'm going to be able to say that every year for some years to come. I mean, that's the nature of exponential growth and exponential change, and I think we're entering a period of very, very rapid exponential growth for SingularityNet and decentralized, democratic, beneficial AI and AGI.